FTFLers, it is I, Brett Sieber, the host of the show, the owner of the Hulkamaniacs, and that's right, the king of the FTFL. And by the way, it is week 13, and boy oh boy, is there a little bit of pressure on a few teams in the league. With that, we start the show. Welcome all again. We are 12 weeks down. 3 months we have been at this. 1 week to go, and only 2 teams with an automatic bid already. Sure, let's be honest, a third team is set and ready, whoever wins the North. But after that, gonna get a little bit interesting. Speaking of, I guess, better late than never, Jimmy Garoppolo! Hey, John! We should have never doubted you. You knew it all along, big guy. Even though you've lost 8 in a row, you still had that feeling. You knew exactly what you were talking about. Nicely done. A good week for Jimmy Garoppolo. A not-so-good week for the likes of Eli Manning. First off, cut by the people in Middle Spunk Creek for not the first time, for not the second time, but for the third time in one season. And then later on, of course, this week, benched by the New York Football Giants, a move that I do not agree with. Not a huge Eli Manning bobo, but he deserves better than that. Speaking of deserving better, when will Alvin Kamara see the field? 31 points this week, continues to surge. Now, yes, Decent will argue, I scored a ton, I'm fine without him. Boy, oh boy, will you look like a dunce, and maybe you'll be one of the many, many, many co-winners of this year's DSM if you leave him there and don't play him. Speaking of the DSM award, boy, I tell you what, it is turning into quite a race. Sid, right, if you win this week and you make the playoffs, all will be, I guess, temporarily forgotten, lose, and you're one of the winners. Swart, you traded away a pile for Kareem Hunt. He is no longer a fantasy starter. That looms large. If you somehow miss the playoffs or make it in and then lose right away, you might be on the seat. Oh, Linkowitz. That's right. Let's not forget about Linkowitz. He right now is currently tied for the fewest wins in FTFL history. On the plate right here, it says Jeff Markser 2010, 2, 10, and 1. Right now, Linkowitz, you sit at 2 and 10. Your margin of error, razor thin. You, my friend, could be one of the many co-winners of the DSM Award. And with all of that, let's start the show. No, we're not having being sponsored by Star Wars. I just think it's a really cool mug. First off, the people of Middle Spunk Creek at 7 and 4 taking on. You're gonna need a bigger boat at 5 and 6. And boy, oh boy, like every game in the last couple weeks for Sid, this one was an absolutely gotta have it. And he got it. 105.5 to 95.5. You're the people of Middle Spunk Creek. Again, huge week from Antonio Brown and Keenan Allen, 29 and 25.5 respectively. Legatron back in the fold this week with 18. But the duds, let's be honest, Des Bryant, 3.5, Kareem Hunt, 0.5 point. These are 2 players that I'm sure you were looking forward to keeping next year. 2 players who you absolutely have to have pacing the scoring on your team, and 2 players who are currently giving you bupkis that will not bode well. Then again, you win this upcoming week and you're in, and all you need is a ticket to the dance, and who knows who's going home with the prince at the end of the night. Or the princess, I guess, whichever you choose. If you're going to need a bigger boat, you got an absolute gotta-have-it win. Tom Brady, 28, led the way. Josh McCown had 28, too, on the bench. His 1 spot start, I guess, wasn't good enough to warrant any more future starts. Probably for the better. Tevin Coleman and the Atlanta offense is slowly waking up. Of course, more on that later with Deesum's team, but 18 for him. Sammy, I just got picked up. Watkins, chips in 12. Michael Thomas, Melvin Gordon, 4.5, 5.5 respectively. Part of those big trades where you traded away all those draft picks you had acquired, both not holding up their end of the bargain. Of course, you need a win and some help to get in. If you fail to win, if you miss the playoffs, it will be because of Melvin Gordon. It will be because of Michael Thomas. It will be because of everything you decided to do late in the season. Yes, most points scored. Bravo. Remember, Markster can tell you, it ain't about skill, it's about luck. Onwards to game number 2, Ryan Deesum and his ever-increasingly in size titties and not so much balls at 8 and 3, taking on the architect who is reeling since the Ezekiel Elliott suspension took hold at 6 and 5, and the reeling continues. 105 for Ryan, 90 for Matt. If you're Ryan, you picked up Phillip Rivers a couple weeks ago. Huge, because Dak Prescott and the Dallas offense without Zeke have been awful. 30 points for him. Julio, 38. Now, when you traded away a first-round pick to get him, you were expecting big things. This is kind of how Julio operates in the last couple of years. I cannot consider, Julio is good. He is not great. You cannot have 250 yards once a season in a game. That doesn't do it. And so 38 points, yeah, that got you the win that wrapped up the first place, team, the number 1 seed, the first round bye. But if he's going to come back with 6 or 7 next week, then this all really wasn't worth it. Matt Bryant with 12. Again, aforementioned Alvin Kamara, 31 on your bench. That's going to catch up to you. If you're the architect, you continue to ride the hot arm of Jared Goff. That's right, I said it, folks, the hot arm of Jared Goff. 18, Brandon Cooks, 15, Cooper Kupp, however you say his name, recently added to avoid yet another $5 fine, chips in 10. His 3 running backs combined for 25, not terrible, but not what this monster once was, when Zeke, Murray, and Freeman were operating on all cylinders. Needs a win and some help since the Elliott suspension took hold. Matt is 1-3, and that is why he is 6-6 and currently on the outside looking in. Next up, Pack Attack coming in at 7-4, taking on the Monkeys, who are already out at 3-8. Pack Attack continues to roll 82 to the Monkeys 62.5. Russell Wilson continues to be a one-man team up in Seattle. He puts up 22. The Gronk put up 18.5. And the Philly defense chipped in 13. Jeez. It's just coffee. It's nothing more, I promise. Really. 4 in a row for Eric. He was 4-4 once upon a time and kind of on the outside looking in, has peaked at the right absolute time. With a win is guaranteed the number 3 seed, who will play the number 6 seed in the first round of the playoff. If you're the Monkeys, Devontae Adams, 16.5. DeAndre Hopkins, 11.5. CJ Anderson, who you acquired in the Melvin Gordon trade, a big fat goose egg. You have going forward Mixon as a rookie keeper. Adams might be a keeper. Tyreek Hill, who you gave up a second-round pick for, is either a keeper or you're going to trade him, I guess. Because DeAndre Hopkins, I'm assuming he's a keeper. You do have 3 first-round picks, so not all is lost, although you do have to wait several months for your opportunity to make things right again. All right, so we're going to take a little break here. We're going to break down the playoffs. Now, the commissioner, who I believe is Ryan Deesum and not that bum Adam Swart anymore, he's too busy trying to run the town of Middle Spunk Creek, did lay it out for you with the playoffs in regards to who's in and who's out. Of course, Ryan Deesum, number 1 seed, first round bye, is in. Pack Attack is in. Number 3 or number 4 seed, if he wins, automatically the number 3 seed. Now, the maybes is where things get interesting. Of course, 3 men. Not in the tub, but at the top of the division, 7-5, Markser, me, and Swart. If we can't all win because Markser, of course, is playing Swart. Whoever of those 3 wins is in. It's the loser that has some ground to make up. And, of course, now, if 2 out of the 3 win, and let's say the architect and the boat folks, they win too, that's when stuff gets tricky. If Markser loses and both boat folks win, he's out. 1 week after sharing a division lead, he would not be in the playoffs. If I were to lose, if Swart were to lose, both of us could get in with a little bit of help with someone else losing. Right now, we all control our own destiny. It is the boat folks and the architect who need to win and who need help, absolutely, to make it in. Now, Ryan Deesum, not the highest point total in the league, although the number 1 seed. Highest point total right now belongs to Sid, who, of course, is on the outside looking in. Eric, the maybe number 3 seed, has the lowest point total going into this. Whether or not any of that matters, of course, it doesn't, because remember, Jeff Markser has proven to us time and time again, 3 times actually, that luck is really all you need. I think there's a song in that too, but I'm not really a big music kind of, well, maybe I am. Deesum, help me out. And just in case we find ourselves in a situation where even as a collective group, we can't quite figure out the numbers, I know someone who can, and to make sure that you know, he wanted to pass along this message. That's right, folks, your favorite correspondent on the ground out of Browerville, Minnesota, Bart, take it away. Oh, hey, it's your old pal Bart from Browerville. I'm sorry I'm not very camera friendly today. Thanksgiving, we frying a turkey up, and no one said you're not supposed to thaw it out or anything. Now I heard y'all's got the playoffs coming up, and you're probably gonna have some tight races and might need a little bit of help with counting. So just so you know, your good friend Bart's always got it right on for you. I'm just waiting to give you a call. Oh, Jesus! Oh my gosh!
This man, he's an imposter. He's not from Browerville. Come on, this isn't Browerville.
Oh my
Look
gosh.
around. Look around. Look at those houses. Those
Someone's
houses.
deer
Those
down
houses
there
are
or
too
something.
close together. They're way too close together. We're not too. We have 5 fingers in
don't
Browerville.
understand.
See, 1, 2, 3, 4,
What?
5. 5 fingers in Browerville. Not 4. Now we look around here. Look at that. Look at that. You called that
Somebody
a
call
farm?
Granny.
That's a little garden. Look how
Granny? I need
tiny,
your help, Granny.
cutie that is. Look at that. Imposter. 1, 2, 3. 3. That's how we count in Browerville.
Hell. Wow. I'm at a loss for words. Gosh, I hope he's okay. Wow, that was really something. Geez, Bart, thoughts and prayers go out to you, buddy, and I hope to hear from you again sometime soon. Yeah, I guess with that we'll move on as best we can. Next up, the Mana 3-time Lucky Pants champ Mana at 7-4, taking on the Pit of Misery, Dilly Dilly at 4-7. Markshire laid a bit of an egg. I guess get that out of the way now. 58 points is all he totaled. The Pit of Misery in a Dilly Dilly blaze of gunfire heads his way to the win column, but out of the playoffs because of the people that won this week. 101.5. Huge week, but again, in a somewhat, I guess, overall losing effort. If you're Markshire, your kicker, Matt Prater, 13 points, led the way. Delaney Walker, your tight end, at 12. Cam Newton, your quarterback, 10. So your kicker and your tight end were your leaders. Really not all that great. Jamal Williams, Packers running back, stud, by the way, 26 on the bench. Still wouldn't have really mattered. You control your own destiny, albeit without the likes of David Johnson. We did find out this week that he is probably not going to play for the remainder of the season. Markshire has, let's be honest, done pretty well without him. Holy moly. But knowing that you won't have your stud back when it matters most has probably got to sting. For the Pit of Misery, Dilly Dilly, Le'Veon Bell, 18, Cousins, 16, Marshawn Lynn, 13.5. Amari Cooper at 6.5 was the lowest total of the week for him. Roethlisberger sat on the bench with 32. This ass-whipping could have been even more severe. For him, being out of the playoffs and looking forward, you have Le'Veon Bell, you have Amari Cooper, you even have OBJ, who's not playing and probably won't play for the rest of the year, but you have him as a potential keeper going forward. Alshon Jeffries, maybe Corey Davis as a rookie keeper. You also have 2 first-round picks. Things are looking up and not down from the Pit of Misery. Dilly, Dilly. Last game of Week 12, the Hulkamaniacs, that's right. Your Kings team at 6-5, taking on the absolutely bottomed out Team Linkowitz at 2-9. And the bottom we haven't found yet, because 85.5 for Hulk, 51.5 for Team Linkowitz. The win goes to the Hulkamaniacs. Of course, that's why I'm part of the 3-way tie in the top of the North. For the Hulkamaniacs, Carson Wentz 22. Kyle Rudolph had himself a big old fat Thanksgiving day with 18. Justin Tucker, who, by the way, I found on the waiver wire, and I thought, I need a kicker. Why not get the absolute best one in the league? Done. Jordan Howard, though. Here's the troubling thing. 1 point. I gave up a second and I gave up a fourth. Let's be honest. I gave up a second for Drew Brees, who has been the single greatest fantasy player since that trade. And that's on the stupid seat. So maybe I'll be one of the 5 co-winners of the deal. Hell, let's put us all on the list, including Eric, because he's never been on there, and we got to find some way. Maybe we just go 2017, the entire FTFL, for being stupid and not learning from history. It was said here first. I think we're all going down with this boat. Got that, Sid? If your Team Linkowitz, Latavius Murray, 9. Samaje Perine, who was once upon a time my rookie keeper, with 9.5. Alex Collins with 9. Jimmy, I'm on the bench. Garoppolo with 6. No worries, though, because it does sound like he is going to start next week, not only for the Niners, but also for Team Linkowitz. Maybe, just maybe, it's John's Jimmy that gets him out of trouble this time. If you look at John's team going forward to next year, really, no keepers. He has a first, 5 seconds, and 2/3. All sorts of draft picks. You don't have any keepers. If you go into the draft with all those picks, we might as well put 2018 John Linkowitz blew the draft right there. You need help. You need talent. You've got means to acquire it. Now we got to see what happens. All right, we're going to get to the stud, the dud, the decent update. Week 13 talk. Stud this week, Phillip Rivers, 30 points, came off the waiver wire just 2 weeks ago, and for Deesum, it couldn't be a moment too soon. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have struggled going forward. If you're going to continue to refuse to play Alvin Kamara, which it seems like you're going to, which I believe is a giant mistake, Phillip Rivers and the red-hot, I almost called him San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers are going to be a good thing for him going forward. It just might save you. The dud, this one's easy. Kareem Hunt, half point. First and second round draft pick. Noted by many in the fantasy world this week as no longer a starter for fantasy football. That one stings. You're still in playoff contention, but it is, by the way, not forgotten. It's been well documented week after week here on the FTFL Weekly Update. As far as the Deesum update is concerned, Sid, if you lose, consider yourself a winner. Swart, Kareem Hunt is just racing towards that for you. Linkowitz, lose this week, you're 2-11. All-time worst record in the history. You might be a co-winner. And then just maybe there's another dark horse out there. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait till next week to see what percolates out of that. As far as next week, the games for Week 13 are as follows. This one at the top of the chart is the big one. Mana, 3-time Lucky Pants champ. Mana at 7-5, taking on Pomsk at 7-5. Winner wins the division. Loser hopes that the boat folks and the architect, at least one of them, lose, because if they both win, stuff's gonna get real sticky. Speaking of the boat folks at 6-6, they're taking on the Pack Attack at 8-4, who don't need the win, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind sticking it to Hagen and keeping him from the playoffs. Hulkamaniacs at 7-5, taking on the Pit of Misery, Dilly Dilly 5-7 in the second Brother Bowl of the season. Architect 6-6, desperately needing to win, picking on a pretty solid opponent, Team Linkowitz, loser of 8 straight, 2-10. Will the Architect get the win and find some help and make his way into the playoffs? And in doing so, guarantee Linkowitz the worst record of ever? Or will Team Linkowitz get off the schneid, avoid history, and keep the Architect from the playoff? Last game, the Radioactive Monkeys at 3-9, taking on Ryan Deesum and his big old smelly T&B at 9-3. Now, lastly, before we cue the music and I get out of here, if you watched the Sunday Night Football game, you saw the Green Bay Packers in a valiant effort lose, which in the end of the day, it's still a loss, and it keeps us from possibly making the playoff. However, we are not out. I cannot tell you how many texts, how many phone calls I got with regards to, well, season's over, it's done, la-di-da. Again, how Vikings of all of you? I can't think of another fan base who goes, the default mode is straight to, it's over, we've lost, turn out the lights. It's pathetic. You said it when he broke his collarbone, and you now are looking at it and you're saying it again, even though they are 2 games out of a wild card. But I don't know if you saw, during the game, before warm-ups, he was throwing 50-yard passes in a way better fashion than any quarterback you have on your roster. Go to bed every night between now and when the Packers might be officially eliminated, and pray that they miss the playoffs, because if they make it, if they squeak in and by some way you face them, that is a situation as a Vikings fan I would never, ever want to be in. Number 12, he's coming. And that is the end of the weekly update. We'll see you next week. This is Brett, owner of the Hulkamaniacs, and your king, signing out.